The challenges facing the Chinese economy are becoming clearer with each passing day. Starting from a strong zero-COVID-19 policy which has locked down the majority of the country's economy with so much intensity it is affecting consumer spendings and outputs from factories. How about the Chinese leader, Xi Jinping aggressive regulation of the technology sector which has shifted from private enterprise to Moaist socialism, paralyzing a once thriving industry? The country's extreme inflation in the real estate sector has also resulted in a gigantic crash of property developers, including the almighty Evergrande. The Russian and Ukraine clash has also led to a push in the global price of energy, food, and other commodities. These events have led the International Monetary Fund to reduce its forecast of China's economic growth to 4.4%. Even the Bloomberg Economist has predicted the number to fall to as little as 2% and expects the U.S. to grow faster than China for the first time since 1976. Nonetheless, hoping for an economic collapse in China would be very unwise. Welcome to Savvy Economists. In this video, we will discuss present economic issues surrounding China and how the country is fast losing its global power. We want to consider how the Chinese leader plans to exercise caution, which will in turn rescue global inflation. Please watch, like, and share this video. Drop your comments and observations below and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Let's dive right in. China is experiencing a rough expansion and global growth may have to face more turbulent times if these challenges persist. Beijing has been making tremendous moves to stabilize the faltering economy and financial system which overweighs the country. Even though we believe the government has grown wary of the situation, they've been pressured into creating new rescue measures. One of the such steps presented by the People's Bank of China came as a shock to investors as they cut official interest rates. The adjustment, however, is tiny compared to the world standard. To keep the nation afloat, the government added more pressure to state firms, extending more credit while the government plans to release $29.3 billion in special loans to ensure buyers who have paid for property projects get their houses finished. According to the International Monetary Fund estimates, land sales in China each year amounts to 7% of the country's annual economic output. But the story is different today as developers reduce land purchases. Over the past 12 months, the Chinese yuan has strove near its weakest point, dropping more than 5% against the dollar. The government on Wednesday outlined a 19-point package to help sustain the economy, which is quite an impressive move, but the details are not encouraging. The Chinese government has committed another 1 trillion yuan, which is largely focused on infrastructure to bolster the economy. $146 billion was assigned to cover infrastructure, property, and private business. According to the government, it is needed for support. Talking about the need for support, the state banks also met the demands and were given additional $44 billion to fund infrastructure projects. Local governments get $73 billion while the electrical firms, which have suffered challenges due to droughts and heat waves, were given $29 billion stimulants. The spending comes after Beijing had unexpectedly lowered 2 of its key interest rates as a step to accelerate growth amid COVID-19 lockdowns and a deep property slump. Last month, Chinese leaders dropped their annual growth target of about 5.5% after growth of 2.5% in the first half of the year. China struggled to maintain growth even as it stimulates its economy through various monetary policy measures is clearly not convincing investors that it is working. Shares of the iShares MSCI China ETF, MCHI, are vastly underperforming the iShares MSCI Emerging Markets ex-China ETF, EMXC, over the past year, said Caleb Silver of Investopedia. These stimulants are still making leaders and investors skeptical about the future of China's economy as it obviously looks like the leaders are trying really hard to play catch-up. Premier Li Keqiang has recently resisted a massive rescue of the economy, saying he won't overdraw the future. This caution spells a bitter experience. China has once unleashed a similar stimulus system during the United States subprime crisis, which saved the world from a huge downturn but produced a huge debt hanging for banks and government-preferred companies. But now, China's economy is facing a different turn. Although it was already going through a single-digit growth before the COVID started in 2020, the GDP is suffering way more than earlier during the pandemic. And we doubt if the country will do better. With the influence COVID has on the Beijing, both business and social life, it is difficult to make projections, especially when you don't know how many cities will be locked down and when. As much as Chinese are facing the force of the economy, so are lower-income Americans and people around the world. The truth is, everyone will be caught in the charade when the world's second-largest economy falters. If China is experiencing a recession, whether from the party or from Xi taking hold of the economy, it will hurt the average Chinese citizen and others. In the US, the Americans stand at risk given the economic integration they have with China. Americans consume goods from China at a large pace, even with the high tariff imposed as a part of the US-Chinese trade war. With the current increasing inflation in the United States and China holding a crucial point in U.S. companies' supply chain, the effect of the Beijing pandemic policy will result in an increased price in the United States. It will further affect American companies and consumers who are already dealing with the heat of inflation. China is also relevant in foreign trades for the United States goods and services, higher than Mexico and Canada. So, a poor China economy poses a reduction in demand for U.S. products, which will also affect the American business and workers who rely on Chinese exports. With China's visible economical problems and the U.S. economy softening, the risk of a global recession is high. As Harvard University economist Kenneth Rogoff recently reminded us, a collapse in one region will raise the odds of collapse in the others. Authorities can't just throw up their hands. The PBOC, on the other hand, should ensure they are not outdoing themselves. Even if Governor Yi Gang is keeping a keen eye on inflation, which is the right thing to do, it is just a bit of the lump carried by other major economies. According to economist Eric Zhu, China is ratcheting up monetary stimulus in baby steps. With traditional tools failing to gain traction, a bigger policy shift will be needed to get growth back on track. Before taking any sudden move, the Communist Party brass, isn't restricted by it, as a major part of the economy is hedged on the state, so any move the People's Bank of China makes can flow through targeted sectors. We view the central government's introduction of bailout funding as the first meaningfully positive development in the past 5 to 6 weeks, Ji Zhodong and Stella Guo, analysts at Nomura Holdings Incorporated, wrote in a note Sunday. We wonder how long it will take before PBOC folks will start acting out a type of the European Central Bank President Mario Draghi's whatever it takes. They are currently sounding like the past Treasury Secretary Hank Paulson and ex-Federal Reserve Chief Ben Bernanke when they insisted the American housing meltdown would be contained and probably wouldn't sink the broader U.S. economy, let alone world finance. Draghi, too, didn't get there overnight. The ECB had its share of fumbled half measures. Chinese policymakers still have a journey to make. Beijing's economic challenge also needs to be addressed. If China is to play a more constructive role in the global economy, it has to deal with the present issue heads-on. Truth remains that a significant downturn in China's economy could have a grave impact and consequences for the world. Hope you enjoyed watching this video. To support us, please watch, like, and share our videos. You can also subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.